Good morning. What's up, guys? How we doing? Hope you guys are having a good morning here so far. It's time to get to work. So business first, as usual. We have a hell of a schedule here today. Not a lot of heavy importance, aside from a lot of earnings. GE earnings, Verizon earnings, 3M earnings, Lockheed Martin, Tesla after the bell here today. But as far as speakers, today we have a Fed speaker at market open. We have a White House speaker at noon. This is all Central Time, by the way. And then a few Fed speakers in the afternoon, 12:40, 1:30, and an ECB speaker at 2. So as far as while on stream, here from now until 11 Central, pretty much just the Fed's Harker is speaking. And that's really about it. And then again, the White House speaker at noon. So that's pretty much it. That's all we got for news here today. So it looks beefy, but it's really just a whole lot of earnings calls and then some other nonsense in the afternoon. So, all right, guys, what's up? How are you guys doing? We are making a little bit of a pump here into the open. So let's see if we can hold that. Again, you guys heard me talk about this yesterday. With bigger, not that this is such a big move, but with trendy moves into the open, in my experience, after the bell, it's 50-50. It's not even necessarily 60-40. It's like 50-50. Whether it continues or pops off the open and then fades all day. That's why I really think it's important to let things work themselves out for at least 5-10 minutes. Let the institutional orders clear and be done. And that's it. And then trade what the market gives you. All right, guys, what's going on? Daniel, Keith, Bruce, old school, welcome back, guys. Chris, what's up? Scrumptious, Scooby-Doo, welcome back. Mitz, Christian, John, Rightish, JM, Christopher, Vibe, what's up, guys? How you doing? All right, we are 4 minutes out here from the opening bell. And I think that's about it as far as business is concerned. I am trading today. I'll be trading 2 Take Profit Pros, and we'll be doing 8 Apex PA accounts. So 10 now total here today. And let's see what we can put together. I'm excited. I'm excited. That feeling never goes away coming into the opening bell. Jim, what's up, guys? Peter, Ram, TC, Superfly, what's up, Peter? Anthony, how you guys doing? All right, 18,150 here. Again, that's gonna be like a tier 4 level coming into the bell. I'm not too concerned with that level on its own. Do you guys trade a lot of pre-market? I mean, looking at this here, it's very channel driven. I mean, I will sometimes hit pre-market, but I gotta be honest, I probably don't hit it as much as I should. I know a lot of you guys seem to come into the chat and you're like, hey, I'm already up, you know, so-and-so thousands of dollars. Are you guys overseas or are you guys trading pre-market? I'm actually really curious about your guys' schedules. Like, what time are you sitting down and what time are you leaving? Panther, welcome back. Marshall, what's up? Starbuck, how you doing? All right, 2 minutes out here. Christian, I trade, I know you're asking everybody, but this here is Thinkorswim, and then I trade using, well, Apex and Take Profit Pro accounts, connected via Rhythmic and Tradeovate, respectively, through NinjaTrader. That's my setup. Rightish. I'm in Alaska, so no to pre-market. Yeah, cool. Chicago, great trading from 6:30 to 8, unless there's a big number like CPI, yeah. Yeah, but pre-market, as far as, I mean, continuation can sometimes maybe be a little tough, but little channel scalps. It feels kind of like Asia, in my experience, Asia session, but less chop and a little more volatile, which is actually good, obviously. That Asia session just chops me up whenever I've tried to trade it. I don't do very well. Jeff, I get up early, 4 a.m. for me in Arizona, so traded for a few hours before the open. When it was crazy volatile the last few weeks, I had better luck than during regular hours. Yeah, in really high volatility environments, that pre-market can feel like the regular New York Open, or at least morning. Chris, got a take profit trader eval going today. Did not know they were hockey guys. Yeah, I've seen the posts as well. From the CEO and his family. There is the bell. So let's see what we get here. Again, guys, off the open, it just tends to be like 50-50. It's really tough to trade based on the trend coming into the open unless there's news. If there's a very obvious news driver, then the probability of continuation goes up. But look at this. Institutional orders dumping this thing off the open. Gotta let those go through, the institutional orders. Usually takes about 10 minutes to do so, 5-10 minutes. All right, we have we have a Fed speaker right now. Again, Harker. Already making comments. Not too much. We'll see if they make a comment on tariffs, but right now the open volatility is probably going to trump anything they say. You can see on the 5-minute chart here, take a look. Top left of your screen, we're trying to bounce off that 20 EMA on the 5 and trying to hold the 20 on the 2. Obviously, the 20 on the 5 is more heavily watched because the 2-minute chart is just a less common chart. I really like the 2-minute, but it is less common. So any indicator on the 2-minute chart is going to be less relevant, really, than anything on the 5-minute. Unless they're the same, of course, across time frames. There we go. So this is what we're going to be trading here today. Again, today I'll be trading 8 Apex funded accounts, PA accounts, and 2 Take Profit Pros. You can see the size next to each account. That is based on a leader account of 1 micro. So the X multiple is the size in terms of micros for each account. So you can really see that I scale these not vertically. I prefer to try to scale these horizontally, so that's what I'll continue to do here. But I'm not trading big. You don't need to. There's plenty, listen guys, especially in prop where you can scale to like 30, 40, 50 accounts if you really need to, across a bunch of firms, you do not need to trade minis. You don't even need to trade big at all in each account. In fact, I would argue that with any any reasonable statistical drawdown that you're going to come across, trading a mini is too big in almost every case. A few of the accounts where you could get away with it would be like the big straight to funded Tradeify accounts with the I believe it's a 6K drawdown, 3750 daily loss limit, I think it is. The 250 and 300K apexes, the 150s, you could push it, but it's a little tight. And maybe the big take profit pros. These are the big boys, the 150s, and I'm trading 4 micros. Because, I mean, listen, the take profit pros, that's an asset. You get daily payouts. So, slow and steady. Scale horizontally, but don't get too connected to each account. DB, hey Nico, what copier do you use? I have no affiliation with them, but I use the copier this, actually, from Affordable Indicators. And I also have the Risk Manager, which I believe is 2 separate products. It's good. It's not perfect, right? But no copier is going to be perfect until they get the NinjaTrader problem with ghost positions fixed. So sometimes you guys see in the trades when I say, okay, I gotta flatten, like after it hits me out, usually at a take profit, and there's like a few contracts left over, and I say, okay, I gotta flatten, and I go and flatten. What I'm really doing is I press the X, and then it flips me the opposite way because I don't actually have a position, but it's just easiest to just flatten it that way and get in and out and be done. But that's a NinjaTrader issue, so that's not on the copier. As far as the copier, things that they're in control of, it's been great. I really have no complaints. And I mean, this is kind of crazy, but like this is the only copier I've ever seen that just totals your P&Ls across all the accounts without you having to sit and do math on a calculator. It's just a pain in the ass. It seems like such an obvious feature, and apparently they're the only ones who have figured it out so far. Actually, that's not true. I think ETP has a total, but Replicanto doesn't seem to have a total, which is crazy to me. All right, so a few more 2-minute bars and we can start looking for setups here. Institutions just dumping this thing off the open. It's actually not incredibly volatile though. So that ATR currently is sitting obviously 17. That's going to start to creep up as we get our full 10 2-minute bars after the open. That ATR is officially kind of locked in after the bell at 850 because it's based on 10 2-minute bars, so 20 minutes. And right now it's averaging in pre-market lower volatility bars. So for the first 20 minutes of the day, I really look at or at least the first, 15 minutes of the day. I really look at the range, which is that yellow flag at the bottom of each bar, and kind of try to gauge it that way until we get the actual blue line, which is the true ATR catching up. All right, they're trying to, look at the 5-minute here. Trying to give up here the 20 on the 5. And you look over at the 20 on the 2 and they're retesting it here. But again, these trades aren't being made based on the 20 exponential moving average. These trades here are being made with a, 2-week, 2-month outlook. Which is why it's so hard to trade the open like this. There's just almost no edge that I can find unless there's news, which changes things. But today there's really not a whole hell of a lot of obvious news that's going to drive the market immediately, at least on its own. All right, 1 or 2 more 2-minute bars, and we're cool to start looking for setups here. Range so far is about 30 to 40 points, which is not bad. You guys know my sweet spot is 25 to 70, so I'd like to see that start to creep up. Honestly, it's not a lot of volatility off the open. We haven't even put in a 100-point range yet. Now, as far as market inertia, bottom of your screen, there's the daily chart. You guys remember weeks ago, the market was just dead? And it was actually quite frustrating. We were seeing like 11 ATRs an hour into the day, which was really, really tough. We were able to still hit base hits, but it was a tough environment. And then the tariff market, we were seeing like 400-point ranges on a 2-minute bar, which was insane. Again, a tough environment, but still able to hit base hits. And now we're back to the market. I hate to say this, the market's kind of dying off a little bit. It's not dead at all, but it's dying off a little bit in comparison to what we saw. And now we're kind of back to range days. So I'll trade continuation if we get a nice trend, or if we get a wide enough range where I can trade continuation with still having enough room to the downside test or the upside test of the other side of the range. But really, I'm going into today thinking, all right, we might have to look for some, well, quite a few channel scalps. So that's what I'm thinking here today. You want to have your finger on the pulse of like what the inertia is doing. And when the market shifts, the faster you can shift, the less money you're going to lose, therefore the more money you're going to make. Because if the market's just sideways range bound, you don't want to be taking big bets on huge breakout trades, you know, for a week straight, because you're probably going to lose 80% of them. Now you've dug yourself a hole when you could have just been, you know, come Tuesday if the shift happened on Monday. Come Tuesday if you figure it out. Now you're trading reversion scalps or little channel driven trades. You'd have been profitable maybe 3 out of those 4 days, maybe all 4, rather than just losing all 5 days because you're trying to bet on big breakouts that aren't coming. All right, we are into 840 territory, which means we can kind of start looking for some setups here. Let's see if this market starts trying to break out, or if we end up putting in a range or a channel. Well, yesterday's New York session high was 18,165. There's the break of that. And then last Thursday's low was 18,261. So we have about a 100-point little gap that we're now trading inside of, which is kind of interesting here. Eric, good morning. What's up, brother? How you doing? There's a push, huh? I'm curious if we get a push up toward 260. Again, that's the last Thursday New York session low. By the way, I've gotten this question before. Like, you know, what levels? A lot of people, I think, can't decide whether to trade off of. Are you looking at New York levels? Are you looking at Globex levels? I leave it all of it, on my 2-minute and 5-minute charts. But on my daily chart, I only display the New York session. Now, maybe that doesn't make sense to you. To me, that makes perfect sense because I want to know what's going on just in the session that I'm trading, which for the most part, I'm only trading the New York session. But in the I get the context of overnight from the 2-minute and the 5-minute chart, and it helps contextualize the open as well. But I don't need that on the daily. I think having all the Globex data on the daily, for me, it just kind of confuses me because I want to know, like, okay, well, what's the range in the actual New York session? Because if I was showing Globex, obviously these would all look maybe quite different. But here I'm able to see, like, okay, during the sessions that I trade, lower maybe a little higher volatility. Volatility died out, picking up, big tariff volatility, and now we're seeing it die down a little bit. And the range during the New York session is lower. Which tells me, like, well, should I be taking big bets on huge breakouts? Probably not, right? Doesn't mean I can't trade continuation, I will. But big breakout bets, probably not the best idea here right now. You can see what I mean. It's very 50-50 off the open. We get that big institutional dump off, and now we're just pumping to oblivion. We're coming in now to 845 territory. It's 844 right now, so we're opening up now. So I'm now watching for setups here. Now remember, Thursday's low is about 260, 261. Yeah, 261.50. So I'm becoming interested in this little sequence here. However, you look at this 2-minute chart, what do we see? Shrinking bull bars. Right, they're not growing, they're shrinking. So we're a minute and 15 out from the close of this 2-minute bar. We'll see what we get. Eric, doing great. Blew 4 take profit evals yesterday, just slowly recovering mentally. It's okay. It's okay, working into your business plan. That's a big outsized bar, huh? 45 seconds to the close. You can see the sellers stepping in. In my opinion, I think we're seeing some sellers step in. You see that wick back downside we just got and saying, hold on now, we've been seeing range days a lot. And betting against that. Which, you know, that makes sense. That's not a trade that I would take, but I see why the sellers are saying that. So I gotta watch how this thing develops. Aaron, long after 3 bars? Well, listen, if we were in a trending market environment, like the bottom, the daily chart, oh, man, I would love to buy that rollover, but I can't because we're not in a trending market environment. We're in a range-bound environment. So I know that more sellers in this environment, the market inertia, right, the daily chart, are going to look at this and say, hang on now. I'm going to short that at least for a reversion to the mean. If we were in a big trendy environment and the market inertia was, hey, we've been trending 6 days in a row, 100% I would have bought that rollover. But in a range-bound environment, I can't do it. I'd love to, but I can't do it. Do you use market order or limit order in? I use limit orders on my leader account or stop limit order entries if I'm buying breakouts or selling breakdowns. But limit orders on the entry, and then I use market fills on my follower accounts because if you've ever ran follower accounts and tried to use limit orders on all the follower accounts, it is a nightmare. Because, like, it is the minority that they all fill without issues. The majority of the time, you get a ton of fill issues on the follower accounts when you try to use limit orders across all of them. So, take it from me, if you're testing, I think you should probably just use the market fills on the followers because otherwise you're going to have partial fills. It's just a nightmare. And when you have, 10 accounts with partial fills, it's just a train wreck. So, I mean, look at this here, right? We're getting this big push. Now, again, in a trendy market, this is off the open, so this is going to be maybe the most outsized move we get all day. It's possible, right? It's a high probability that's true, unless we get some big news. But in a normal trending market environment, if this wasn't so outsized compared to, what's expected as far as volatility here today, that's a beautiful rollover buy for me. But look, we roll over it, and again, sellers come in and just say, well, hang on now, look at the daily chart. Bulls, you really think we're going to trend for hundreds of points without pulling back? No. And they step in and they get short. So we'll see where we go from here. You know, I really hope what you guys take away, if anything, if you care to trade like me, whatever, is that it's not the setup. The setup is a big part. You have robotic rules as far as the setup, but there's a big discretionary factor, especially to trading futures. And it's kind of like a dance. It's like an art. You need to understand all the factors, and there's not like a million, okay? Like, what we talk about is the factors. Put them together, and then say, does what I'm doing make sense? Based on everything that I just looked at. The market inertia, right? The balance between buyers and sellers at the very moment you're looking to buy or sell. The pattern on the chart, and your risk management versus the current range average of the bars. It just has to make sense together. When it does, boom, hit it, and you'll likely have an edge. You know, they say like 95+% of traders lose money. Well, yeah, I would argue that about 96+% of traders don't do what I just said. They're just looking for one thing. They're looking for a pattern. They're saying, it's up 3%. This thing's not going any higher. And then it finishes the day up 6.5%. But I think the biggest thing is, well, it's all of them. But you want to pay attention to the inertia of the market. What's it doing lately? If the range has been a couple hundred points during each New York session, why are you buying when it's 300 points to the upside, looking for a 700-point move? Right? I mean, that kind of goes against everything the market's been doing. You're asking for a big shift. You're going against inertia. Does that make sense in any other context in life? Probably not, in a lot of cases at least. That's very true, especially for the futures market. All right, bears succeeding in a little pullback here. Let's see if they can hold off. We're kind of trading flat now. But I mean, look, guys, after that big bar, had we bought the rollover, we would have gotten at best 5 points in the money, or worse. That would have been me asking for a big outsized move that goes against the market inertia. That doesn't make any sense. So we do still have that Thursday low of the New York session at 261.50. So we'll see if we get that push. It's less than, I mean, really it's less than 15 points from the current high. So we'll see if we get that, but Bear is really stepping in here. If you guys haven't yet, please press like on the live stream. Appreciate it. Helps out tremendously. So the bear is really attempting this little reversal sequence here. I'm very interested to see if this develops into a channel, which at this point it is likely. We'll see if that occurs. All right, 17 seconds till the rollover here. Okay, that's really interesting. So the bulls wick that thing right back upside. This is going to turn into a channel, I believe. The question becomes, where's the bottom if we end up seeing this turn into one? Now, the reason I say that, by the way, is just probability-wise based on the buyer-seller relationship. This here, we get a bear bar, growing bear bar closing near the low. Now, if we get the rollover, we get a growing bear bar closing near the low. We're looking at, I don't know, I'm making up numbers, maybe 60-40 seller, 55-45 sellers. But when you start seeing these wicks back upside and now you have this bar getting mixed in, we're looking at a couple percent in either direction, which is really not enough edge for me to take a trade until we see a channel develop where it turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy, where it turns back into 55-45, maybe 60-40 on the outskirts of the channel. So what I'm watching now is two things. Does that buyer strength that's holding this up collapse and this turns into a continuation setup downside, in which case then we have to look at the 20 EMAs and see if those cause problems? Or do the buyers kind of stay put and not give up and turn this into a channel? In which case I need to see, because with just one touch point, you know, it could go anywhere. You need at least two to start getting an idea of where that channel is going to develop. Forbes, what do you think about the opening range breakout? I think it's a good trade in a breakout market. That's where everyone loses context. When you're in a big range-bound market, to take continuation on the opening range break, does that really make sense? Listen, guys, it's never going to be as simple. I know we all wish it was. It's never going to be as simple as like, hey, the 15-minute opening range breakout, just trade that every day and you'll make a living. You have to have your finger on the pulse of what's going on. That's why being a trader is work. Because if you just showed up every day and traded for 20 minutes, you wouldn't have much of a handle on really what's going on. You don't need a lot of time. You know, you can trade for 90 minutes a day and be cool. But you gotta understand the inertia of what's going on in the market. You can't just show up every day and trade, oh, someone told me to trade the 15-minute opening range breakout. Really? Come on. I'm talking to everybody, not anyone specifically, by the way. Let's see if these bulls can take this higher and turn this into a continuation setup, which would have me very interested. All right, 12 seconds out here from the rollover of this bar, and then I want to watch how the next one develops. And if we can get, I don't want it to be too outsized. Again, this isn't a breakout market. I'm curious to see how this develops here. I do believe this is going to turn into a channel still. All right, 45 seconds out here from the close of this 2-minute bar. Now again, you guys know kind of what I'm looking at, right? I mean, I'm very curious to see, well, if this turns into something. Now we have one, I can't really call that 2 touch points. So really I'm looking at this that way. Let's see if that turns into anything. Joseph, in regards to your continuation trades with 2-minute bars, curious on why not 1 minute or 3 minute? How did you determine the 2-minute sweet spot for you? So it has nothing to do with like the chart itself. It has nothing to do with the 2-minute works, the 1 minute doesn't. It's just a balance of quality of trades. Let me rephrase that. Quality of setups versus quantity of setups. The 1 minute presents the information faster. The quality of each setup slightly on average is going to drop, but the quantity goes up. I found that the quality dropped a little too much on the 1 minute. The 5 minute is wonderful. It has very high quality setups, but not a lot of quantity. And we're trying to get the sample size up. When you have edge, you want to take more trades. So I'm trying to take as many trades as I can, but I can only trade what the market gives me, right? So the 2 minute I find to be a pretty good balance between quality and quantity. All right, still interested in that trend line. Again, this just isn't a breakout market. As much as I would have loved to buy this rollover, we would have been 10 points in the money at best and struggling. And I know that that's because we're in a range-bound market and the sellers are looking, hey, maybe this turns into something here. So ideally, we'd get a downside test and put in a little ascending support. That's really what I'm watching. Otherwise, if we end up breaking out, then we have to change our bias, right? And then I can start looking for breakout scalps. Caliente, good work. Short trading day up 60 points. Quicksilver with a gold short this morning. Good work. Quicksilver, do you ever go long? Shows up every day and just shorts the market. Seems to work every day. All right, testing that trend line. Again, I prefer 3 touch points, but you know, I also I think the easier trade, because there's really 4 trades, right? There's, as far as channel scalps, there's buying an ascending support, selling an ascending resistance, and then there's selling a descending resistance and buying a descending support. I think buying an ascending support, selling a descending resistance are the 2 easier trades. The harder trades are selling an ascending resistance and buying a descending support. You have to be better on your timing. You usually get softer bounces and rejections. It's just tougher. So, like this, I would trade that in an eval. But in funded accounts, the quality just isn't there. So I want to see downside tests and put in my touch points so I can eventually buy a little ascending support if we can get it. Gibbs, hey Nico, do you ever draw your trend lines with the pre-market movement, or do you like to just wait until the open to see the trend? I prefer to wait just until the open. It's a different sample size. It's a lot more volume. And I think mixing the two, for me, doesn't make a lot of sense. So I prefer to wait and watch setups develop just after the New York Open. Assuming I'm trading the New York session. All right, well, there's the test. I know shorts are looking at that. Getting hung up. Is the current ATR okay for you? It's okay. It's 25, 26. It's not great. It's okay. All right, Bull's attempting to break out of that little trend line there. Let's see if they can, but I'll tell you what. In this market, I'm going to need some coffee. I'll be right back. All right, we are back. Now, the shorts are kind of being put to rest here. Let's see if we can get an outsized bull bar. We've got 12 seconds till the close of this bull bar. I will get ready just in case. Nothing there on the rollover. You see those? They're shrinking, right? Sellers stepping in, still betting against any kind of breakout, which makes sense based on the market inertia. So we'll see if we can snap that up and get a little breakout trade going, continuation trade, or if we end up entering that channel. Eric, I think you're the only one having stream issues, brother. Okay, let's see if we get a bit of a channel. This is aggressive. This is kind of a weird market this morning, huh? That's an aggressive level. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up. These very aggressive lines, by the way, tend to not last all that long. Trick Biscuit, what's up? Welcome back. Doing well. Hope you're doing okay. All right, sellers trying to break this downside. Again, these aggressive trend lines, just the probability falls. Quicksilver, I clip tops a lot with very tight stops, so when you lose, it's small. When you win, it's big. Yeah, we just talked about that strategy yesterday. Yesterday, we talked about it in the context of the long side, buying dips, well, really buying big red days. But I know quite a few traders who make a living doing that. But usually they have a lot of rules as to when they enter, which is a big deal. Deviation from VWAP, ATR, push, based on the last 5 to 10 trading days, stuff like that. It's a very low probability, but very high reward to risk trading strategy. That can work. All right, Bear's trying to put in a little sequence for us here. Continuation to the downside. I'd be cool with that. All right, Bears, give me a nice low close. Turning over now. There's the rollover. Now a nice beauty of a bear bar closing just below the 20 on the 2. Kind of a lot to ask, but that would be a decent setup for me. See if we get that. This market seems more interested in putting in channels. I'm going to delete this. Clean up as we go. see if we put in a second touch point here. If we can, I would be interested in taking the third, by the way. Yeah, ATR here is 25. It's falling. So we may end up doing some more negative reward to risk stuff than you guys have been seeing the last few weeks, but that's okay. You gotta adjust on the fly. Again, a huge part of being a trader is being as liquid, as fluid as possible. But having plans in place for each particular market environment. Morning, Sean. How you doing? You see this here. We're about 20 seconds out from the rollover. But these bear bars are shrinking. This is very, unless we get some big downside move here in the last 10 seconds. Look in here. Now it's turning into a doji. There's the rollover. See this shrinking 2-minute bear bars turning into a doji? That's an attempt at a reversal sequence out of the bulls, which tells me when we can't even get a single continuation sequence setting up, that tells me that this market is in range mode. So unless we break that, we'll see. What's a rollover? Just the start of the new bar. The end of one bar, the beginning of a new bar. Rolls over to a new bar. How much can a doji tell you? Well, on its own, all it tells you is that the buyers and sellers are indecisive. If it's part of a sequence, it can tell you a lot. Like here, what does it tell us? It tells us the buyers are trying to trigger a reversal sequence. Doesn't mean they're necessarily going to. It just tells us that that balance is getting a little more evenly weighted compared to up on this bar. It's just a dance between buyers and sellers. But no, there's no answer like, oh, if you see a doji, you should do this. Now, what you could do, by the way, is if you were looking to be more of a lower probability, higher reward to risk trader who takes setups earlier than I do. Probability of success on the trade is lower, but your reward to risk is higher, which can still equal out to a similar edge, right? A lot of ways to make the numbers work. You could look for these little reversal sequences to the bull side and to the bear side, that is, and buy these little dojis. Like you see it, okay, put in a doji, then you buy the rollover, and maybe you have a 2-to-1 reward to risk, but probability is going to be lower than like a lot of my continuation setups, because I'm buying later or selling later in the setup than you would be there. Well, not that it tells us much, but the fear and greed index did just hit 23 out of 100. Still extreme fear. Been that way for a little while now. No trades yet here today. We are sitting flat, just waiting for the right setup here. Now, as far as news, it's 9:20. Lockheed Martin earnings call at 10 Central Time, that is. And then there, at noon, we have a White House speaker. That's it. It's not Trump, by the way. Alright, so this market's attempting now to put in a channel, which, again, makes a lot of sense. We've been talking about this all day now. So I'm looking for a third touch point on that ascending support, ideally. But first of all, this here needs to bounce up out of the hole. I don't want to see a mushy bounce. Those tend to fade. But you see big, strong bounce, and then you take a second touch point, and you get kind of a shitty little bounce. It tends to roll over and break downside. More often than I need to give me an edge. Okay, so you look at this 2 minute here. This is what I'm looking at as far as any kind of continuation, as far as room, because I can expect once we see a test of this trend line, some sellers are going to step in. Now, whether or not we break through it at that point is kind of 50-50. But I know, well, I would say a little less than 50-50, but I know that when we see a test of that, we're going to see sellers step in. So I don't want to be taking a continuation scalp 10 points away from there looking to get 30 or 40, or 20 to 40, I should say. That would just be dumb. So watching now, what I will do is I'll draw this, because this is very obvious to me. And this here, don't overthink it. I mean, right, that's the channel we're looking at. Now, if we can get a nice bounce, clear this high. Once we clear that high, I don't care. Then we're out of mushy little bounce territory, and then we can make a retest, and I'd buy that retest. Chris, do you ever do the round number scalps I saw in your eval videos in your funded account? 7 to 8 points, flushing out stops. Well, the stop hunting mentality, I've included in a lot of my continuation setups over the last few weeks on stream. So, yeah, all the time. I'm always thinking if I can stop hunt, but to be fair, to get a sequence coming into a stop hunting area, it takes things it takes the stars to kind of align. When it does, that's a great setup for me. So this bounce here, we did not clear that previous high, which I gotta tell you I'm not in love with, but the bounce was nearly 60 points, which is respectable. So I'm interested here in a back test of that trend line, coming in also to the 20 EMA on the 2. Need about 10 more points to downside to get a nice little test. Still have a minute 10 left on this bar here. Looking for a test of 59 or so. Close. 20 seconds left on this bar. We don't get it here, the rollover becomes quite important here. Little wick upside, that's not too bad for the rollover. I don't like when it rolls over and goes underneath the trend line, because then I think it confuses everybody. It seems to be kind of a weird setup at that point. Okay, now a little back test. All right, and I will get long right there on the test of that ascending trend line right ahead of the 20 EMA on the 2-minute. A couple points in the money on the trade here so far. Average price 18,263 and 3/4, sitting slightly in the red now. Stop down at 18,223 and 3/4. Take profit currently up at 18,303 and 3/4. We'll see if we have to take this early. I'm open to doing so if we need to. Which, by the way, would have to be a bar-by-bar discretionary call, not out of emotion. So let's see if we can get a nice little push up out of this trend line here. Again, break even, few points in the red, few points in the money here and there. Market needs to make a decision here around this trend line. All right, 10 points in the money here. $15 points in the money. Now, what I don't want to see here is a little mushy little bounce. I want to see at least some strength up toward 18.3. 18.3, that's a tier 3 level. So I'm not too concerned with it. Again, target is currently at 18,303.75. So really, I'm looking more at this high here than the actual 300 level. Getting break even, 10 points in the money, a few points in the red. All right, stop down at 18,223.75. Bear is trying to take this lower now. Testing the 20 on the 2. See if the bulls can step in and fix this for me here. About 18, 17, 15 points in the red as we currently sit. Back to break even here, back in the green. You always trade without volume. Just wondering, volume is everything when I'm trading small cap momentum stocks. But in the futures market, I watch price action. Doesn't mean using volume's wrong. I just don't feel like it's too necessary for me. I think it's more of a distraction for me than anything. All right. 8 points, 7 points in the money here. Market really trying to make a decision around this trend line. I want to see a nice push up toward 18.3. See if we can get it. Yeah, Muhammad, there's going to be a few second delay. That's YouTube. YouTube, I have it on the fastest setting YouTube will let me. All right, 11 points in the green now. ATR is still at about 25, so we're at the low end of my range. 25 to 70 is my ideal range for the ATR. We're at 25 about right now, so 20 points in the green. Just want to see if we can get a nice push up toward 18.3. 25 points in the green. Target at 18,303, but I gotta tell you, I'm more interested in really seeing how we react around 18.3, just because of this previous little wick. And the fact that the bulls are really kind of struggling here to take this thing much higher. Still 23 points in the money. So, I mean, right? I know that the sellers are looking at that. And volatility is low, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just target to 25 points. So that'll put target at 18,288.75. I know the sellers are looking at that and trying to gain some confidence. We'll clean up as we go here. Just need about 5 more points here and I'll hit my adjusted target based on that new area of interest out of the sellers. Just want to see a nice little upside test. Yeah, sellers are really stepping in, aren't they? Couple more points. There we go. Okay, we'll be out there at target. So that's a smaller trade. That for me, and listen, from here, I don't care where we go, okay? I made the decision, the best decision I could in the moment. So that leaves us, what is that? That's 0.6, that's about a 0.6 R trade. So smaller scalp, that puts us up 13.26. Oh, I gotta adjust it. Hang on, you guys can't see it, right? 1 second here. There we go. All good? That puts us up 13.26 on the day. So whatever, let's see, let's move on, see what else we can get here. That shows you everything, right? There's 10 accounts there. Yeah, all right. So, obviously my R per trade is, I think, a little over 2,000 right now. So, we'll see what else we can grab. Now, of course, in hindsight, you can say, oh man, could have left it on, it would have hit target. That will plague, that mentality will plague your trading. That'll make you a very unhappy person, I think, if you think that way. Make the best decision you can in the moment and move on. I really don't care where it goes from here. But I am interested in continuation now on the rollover. After 30 seconds, this bar will roll over, and then I'm looking at that bar. See if we can get continuation. So let's clean up as we go. I'm going to redraw this. And that gives us lots of room here. All right, now this bar here becomes kind of a truth teller for me. A minute 40 out here from the rollover of this 2-minute bar. Let's see if we can get the bulls giving me some continuation here. You can see they're struggling here. A healthy mix. I mean, we're seeing a healthy mix of green and red bars. One of those little melt up days. But I mean, you look at the daily, and to be honest, I would still call this, well, I'm not, let's say, comfortable calling this a big old trend day yet, comparatively speaking. But we have plenty of room here for potential continuation. If the bulls could get it together, turning into a doji here. Jeff, curious as to why the different sizes for the funded Apex accounts. I understand the larger size in the take profits, but some 2x and some 3x for Apex. It's just based on buffer. That's it. Size up as I go. Okay, so dips and peaks. Been doing so, brother. Zachary, you size down though as you get closer to your target on an eval though, right? Yeah, so with evals, it's a little bit backwards. On evals, because there's too much opportunity cost for me personally to sit in an evaluation for days or weeks. So evals are inexpensive enough where I just trade aggressive as hell the first trade. And then if it's a winner, then I size down until I just hit target. Realistically, I think being more aggressive as you get more experience and you're making more money and taking more payouts makes sense because there's opportunity cost. You know, for a $30 evaluation or a $100 or test on like Take Profit Trade or whatever, it doesn't make sense to spend weeks in that if you're already making money and taking payouts. If you're not, then it 100% makes sense because you want to make sure you're profitable and you don't want to invest too much money before you're getting things right. But once you're there, I think the opportunity cost is a little high. Spend too much time. But I mean, you guys see, it's not like I'm trading big in the funded accounts. It's that horizontal scaling method versus vertical, right? So a melt up here, which makes it tough for continuation and makes channel scalping more attractive, which is what that last trade was. So if we can get a downside retest of that trend line, I will be interested yet again. However, then we have the 20 EMA to think about on the 2-minute, but it's certainly less relevant than the 20 on the 5. A lot less eyeballs. Well, I mean, you look at the average true range, it's fallen, guys. We're at 22.5, maybe 23. I'd like to see that pick back up. But, you know, for me, in lower volatility environments, I just lean more into negative reward to risk, and that's fine. But again, you got to remain fluid as possible. Zachary, if you're talking about on the ETP trade copier, if you're talking about the like sizing for each account, if you're using the percentage, you should be able to do whatever you want. But test it by putting out in order away from the market first and see what the size is. All right, so I'm now looking. We have 55 seconds left on this 2-minute bar. I would like to see a rollover and then how that next bar closes because, again, I can't go betting on breakouts when we're in a rangy market. $20 seconds out here. All right, now this bar here, this bar is important to me. Because if we can get a growing bull bar with room to the ascending resistance level, for me to take a trade and reasonably get 20 to 40 points, that's a continuation setup for me as this channel widens out. Jim! It's Nico, not Rico. Do you consider the lower high on the previous trade influence a channel entry at all? Yes. Yeah, we talked about that. So that lower high does increase risk of a mushy bounce. And it ended up leading to, actually interestingly so, this happens a lot. I redrew this trend line since then. But it ended up leading to this potential little descending resistance that sellers were looking at and holding us down, which is why I ended up taking it at 25 points, not 40 points. And that's really common, by the way. If you're taking little channel scalps, like in an ascending channel, if you get a lower high, you have to consider that the sellers coming up to your third bounce here might see a descending little resistance, which can cause a problem, like it did for me. I mean, not luckily. As part of the plan, it was still a winner, but, you know, sellers could have taken that down just as easily and faded us, and it would have been a loser. So what? No, you're good, Jim. You're good. Well, Bulls just no backbone here today as they take it up to 2.2%. But I mean, look at this. Every opportunity to give me a nice continuation, and the Bears fade it back downside. It is very much so a channel day. So I am interested in a downside test of that trend line, but I gotta tell you that 20 EMA on the 2 could be an issue. However, how it tests it on the downside would tell me pretty much everything I need to know. So if we come in for a downside move here on this 2-minute chart, just blow through it and don't even pay attention. It's not like we have anything on the 5-minute to worry about, because when you look, it's below. So then I would probably buy that again, depending on the test here of this 20 on the 2. All right, I'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are back. Never really got a downside test. Now you could argue that there's a trend line a little higher. James, Uncle Rico, the day trader. Listen, I had to figure something out when coach didn't put me in the fourth quarter. But state champs, no doubt. Muhammad, all this time I've been wasting on SPY. NQ, it's amazing. Listen, guys, futures are a beautifully designed trading and hedging product. They were really designed for trading and hedging. But when you design something purely for trading purposes, like, there's really nothing like futures. You could argue that the closest thing is options. But there's a lot of uses for options that you wouldn't really use futures for. And options are tough because there's an exchange, right? You're exchanging. It's not a straight up buy-sell exchange. It's a, hey, I'm going to sell this to you and provide you leverage. And in exchange, you're going to pay me a premium, even though it's weighted against you, increasingly so the more leverage I sell you. So a really short-dated, really out-of-the-money call is a ton of leverage for cheap. Guess what? Those are going to have the heaviest weight in favor of the sellers. Otherwise, there's no market. Why would anyone sell that leverage to you if they're not getting something pretty crazy in return? Right? But futures were designed just for trading and hedging. And it's just a relationship. The exchange is, hey, I want to sell this. You want to buy it? Yeah, I want to buy it. It's beautifully designed. It's so simple. There's not a lot like it. You know, stocks weren't designed, believe it or not, to day trade. there's a reason that they exist. All right, here's a push. 30 seconds out, but we're seeing likely an ascending resistance. I know the sellers are watching. Oh, look at this. Look at that. I hate to draw too many lines, but we have to because this is relevant. I'm going to have to adjust that. Now, really, if we were going to draw it properly, I'd probably have to draw it like that. So we're now seeing an attempt at a breakout. Now, if we wanted to, we should extend this, which is plenty of room. 18,420, 70 points. We can get a nice, maybe 30-point bull bar closing at the high. I'd buy that rollover. All right, Lockheed Martin earnings call here at 10 o'clock. That's really it as far as news. Again, we have a White House speaker at noon. That's about it. So we're pretty free and clear to trade as we wish. Well, if you're just joining us here, it's been a little bit slow so far this morning. We're up 1326 on one trade, but we're not anywhere near done. We're seeing what else we can grab here. So that trade ended up managing it a little bit early. Again, based on logic, based on data, not based on emotion, because we saw a little descending resistance. I was sitting long start forming, and the sellers were paying attention to it. So I ended up taking that off on an upside test of that resistance for about a 0.6, a little over a 0.6R winner. So that's where we currently sit on the day. A little bit of a ascending channel, a bit of a melt up here. So really seeing, I want to take little channel scalps from the bottom. We haven't gotten a true test of that bottom trend line. You could argue, this starts to get ugly. You could argue there's one here as well, and I would agree with you. I would not disagree with you, but I'm more interested in the more aggressive move. Clean this up. Again, this 18,350, that's going to be a tier 4 level, so I don't care too much about that. ATR currently sitting at 23. Not great, but again, that's fine. We can just lean into negative reward to risk stuff. Do what we need to do. Friendly D-Gen. What's up, brother? How you doing? Little flat top forming here. I expect the bulls are going to try to see at least an attempt at a break. Those flat tops tend to tempt fate. How you guys doing so far today? I know some of you guys probably put on a long, maybe like right on that dump off the open, and held it. Today is one of those days where it's like it works really well if you're swing trading all day. But for day traders and scalpers, it can end up a little bit slower. You know, we haven't been seeing a whole lot of channel tests. It's kind of a slow grind, giving us honestly a test like every 45 minutes. But again, we're not done. We're going to see what we can grab. Slow day. I was down. Now back to a little red. Back green. I'm up 50 on 4 accounts. Playing small. Hey, it's better than being red. Not that there's anything wrong with being red. Honestly, guys, the only thing you should feel bad about walking away from the screen, if you're green, you shouldn't get too high. If you're break even, I get it. We've talked about this before. It feels like you kind of wasted your time, but you didn't. You showed up to work, you gained experience, and that experience will pay you dividends. It just didn't pay you today. And even if you're red, the question you should ask yourself is not, hey, what was the P&L? The question you should ask is, did I trade well today? Yes? Okay, did the market work out in my favor? No, you should feel good about that. Listen, the probability at best 55-45, 60-40. In the futures market, you're not going to get 90-10 probability. It's not going to work that way. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a market. There has to be someone on either side of the trade. Right? If it was a 98% probability your trade was going to work out, who's selling it to you? Right? You're going to have red days. That's okay. Scott, 3 out of 3, but conservative. Hit my daily goal early. JM caught a few longs. Aaron up 500, little nibbles. Brian up 465. Skeptic, what's up, man? Welcome back. Winning, but went against the plan and it resulted in smaller winner. Need to be disciplined. That's number one. You got to work on that. Eric up 400 bucks on evals. Gibbs, 500 bucks on the same channel scalp, just waiting for something else to present. Man, this is slow developing, isn't it? ATR now below 22 at 21.88. Jamie up a few bucks, playing with very small size while learning. Good, that's very smart. I think trading in a simulator is smart until you learn the ropes. Then I think it's probably beneficial to trade with a little bit of real money, but trade very small, like 1 micro. Because then you experience the emotion of gain and loss, which is half of the learning, if not more. But while you're losing, you're not really losing any meaningful amount of money. That's the smart way to do it. Trade with real money. Once you know the ropes, once you learn the buttons, you get your hotkey set up in the simulator, then trade with real money. Watching this roll over, by the way. The next bar is what I'm interested in. Then trade with real money, but trade small. Do not trade with real money big in the early days. You're just gonna hate trading. And part of this game, a huge part of this game is actually just staying in the game long enough to figure it the hell out. Fred, up 1,500 bucks so far. Took your advice and went horizontal with the copy trader. It's pretty awesome. Thank you for all the help. Yes. Stay relatively small per account and then just scale the accounts. Sure, the expenses go up a little bit, but I tell you, against scaling vertically, you'll probably end up spending more on accounts if you try to scale vertically and just blow accounts all the time. Not that you won't lose accounts here and there scaling horizontally. You know, we will. That's fine. That's part of the business model. Doesn't matter. The whole point is not to never blow an account. Who cares? That's ego. The whole point is to make as much money as possible, the biggest ROI possible compared to the investment, with a realistic edge, right? We're not looking to 10,000x our money, but we're looking to generate real revenue. Debo up 800 bucks, copy trading 4 50K accounts. Cool, good work. All right, I'm watching this bar to see if we can get a growing bull bar. 30 seconds out here from the close of this bar. But I gotta tell you, I mean, looking at this 2-minute here, I hate to do this to us, but, wow. Maybe you'd be better off drawing it like this, right? We can't ignore everything the sellers might gain confidence from if we're gonna go long. And you can see the sellers are trying to hold this down back into a doji. Here comes the rollover, 3 seconds. There's the rollover. Mitz, up a couple $100, trading 1 micro. Good work. It's a very good job. Up a couple $100 on 1 micro is a fantastic day. That'll scale like crazy, Mitz. You know, obviously if you don't make that your expectation. But you traded very well today, you should understand that. Assuming you followed the plan and managed risk well. Mitch, up 30 bucks, still learning, good. The missus is in the chat. Uh-oh. See the sellers turning these into dojis. They're seeing it. They're seeing it. This is a, even though we're moving upside 2.5%, this is a range market. Because, I mean, you look here, any attempt at a breakout starts to get faded relatively quickly. I mean, look here, right? Shrinking bull bars, what a lot of people would call a gravestone doji reversal attempt. Attempt at a breakout, quickly gets shut down. Attempt at a breakout, quickly gets shut down. Attempt at a breakout, trades sideways, melts up. The breakouts are failing. This is a range market. Even though we're moving upside slowly. Gifted Kings took an impulsive short and lost, but course corrected with a long and made back loss on break even for today. Well, as long as that long was a good, according to plan trade, then good work. Muhammad up 470 on evals. 1800 away from PA. Keep it up. Yeah, you know, listen, guys. The whole, like, trading big, trading minis thing, it's all ego. Everybody knows that there's tons of money to be made in micros. And if you're trading a personal account, by all means, if it makes sense, then trade a bunch of minis. Who cares? But the reality is, assuming a lot of you guys are trading prop, which I know a lot of you guys are, is the rules don't work well in 95% of the accounts to trade minis. They just don't. But they're betting on you having too big of an ego to go down to the micros. So what is it? What's it gonna be? Trade minis and make no money and blow a bunch of accounts and never get payouts? Or swallow your pride and trade micros, which, by the way, who gives a shit? Who cares? There's a ton of money in micros. They exist for a reason, by the way. They were introduced because the minis started getting so expensive that they're like, this is too big. We need something smaller. So they agreed. That's why micros exist. There's plenty of money to be made in the micros. It's no big deal. Just trade the damn micros. Swallow your pride. If anyone makes fun of you for trading micros, ask them how they're doing, trading the minis. Slow little melt up. This range is just collapsing, guys. Look at this. We're now below 20 on the ATR. We're at 19. So we are certainly into just abuse negative reward to risk territory. If we can get some kind of setup rolling here. Athletes, James. Yeah, so one trade here so far today. It's been kind of slow, and we took it off 0.6R, and this is where we sit. We're up 13.26 on the day. Listen, I don't mean to sound like I'm complaining. That's a great day here so far, but we're not done. We're gonna keep looking. Let's see what we can grab. But just one so far. Market is just flattening out here. Bear's trying to curl it over. But that ATR is now dipping. 18. Again, my ideal range is 25 to 70, but this is fine. Just lean into it. Which instruments are you watching besides NQ? Well, I'm watching news as far as instruments. NQ is kind of the king, so I pay attention to that. If we get a big move out of the NQ, and I don't know why, and there's no news headline, I'll look around and check, like, okay, what's NVIDIA doing? Like, we had that, I think, last week. NVIDIA was making a big move, I think, into the open, and it was dragging the NQ down. So I'll look around, but I try not to distract myself too much from what I'm doing. But I do have different time frames behind me and the ES pulled up behind me. No, athletes, those are not bands. Those are just trend lines that I'm paying attention to. I really don't like having more than about 2 lines on my chart at any given time. You will become trading minimalists, I promise you. Over time, you will just remove things and remove things and remove things from your chart, but I have to have those 3 on there right now, as ugly as it is. So those are the obvious ones right now. ATR continuing to collapse here. You can see now below, I believe, 19 in the 18s. Are you guys in any positions right now? Curious what you guys are doing. For me, there's just... Look, a lot can change in 4 minutes for me. All I really need is 2 clean 2-minute bars and boom, there's a setup. I'm curious if you guys are sitting in anything. Low to fuse. Just long, tight stop. Yeah, athletes, if we could see a push downside controlled coming into this level, I would be interested. I'm also paying attention, though, to this. I mean, there's a few ways you could draw this. This might make more sense, honestly. Hold up, I'm not showing you the right chart. This might make more sense, honestly, with that 20 EMA, drawing it this way. But drawing it this way is kind of the larger way to draw it, so I'm going to leave it there for now. Rufio waiting, old school, nothing at the moment. Flat, can't scalp this, nothing, looking for a short at this yesterday's high. Vin Diesel's half brother, not that I know of. Christopher, practicing discipline, sitting on hands style. Yeah, this is... Look at these wicks. I mean, here, this shows it better. See these wicks? Someone might try to draw a line there and trade that. This is too tight. This is too tight to scalp and too indecisive. All these dojis. This is where a lot of people get in trouble, by the way. A lot of you guys, not necessarily you guys, but a lot of traders, if they removed this garbage from their trading, they would probably be profitable. Believe it or not. But this is one of the hardest parts of trading, is doing this when the market's doing this. Debo for the coffee fund. Appreciate it, brother. Yeah, in a market like this, that'll help me out. I need some caffeine to to sit here and stare at this. Yeah, Eric, ATR is down. We are below 17 now on the average true range. Can we get a nice big, let's get a giant bear bar. Man, this is starting to feel like 3-4 weeks ago. You guys remember like a month ago? We were on stream talking about how the market was just dead. And I think we were above 20K at the time. And we were talking about how a big downside move, like 500, 1,000 points would wake the market up. We're kind of back in that territory, but I don't know, we kind of already got a big downside move. And the reason downside is helpful is because, you know, obviously the market tends to get woken up a bit quicker when there's a big crash. Those upside moves tend to grind and volatility doesn't increase quite as quickly. So as traders, you know, if volatility's dead, that's the biggest problem we currently have, right? Because the point as traders is generate revenue and then drive it into the market long term. So generate as much revenue as you can short term, drive it into a 20, 30, 40-year bet on America. That's the idea. At least that's my idea in real estate, whatever. So when this is happening, it's like, well, it's tougher to generate revenue because we have no volatility. If the market were to crash to 18,000, well, you know, 17,000, 16,000 again, if that's what it takes to get volatility going, I'll take it, because not only does it help us generate more revenue, but it also gives us cheaper prices to drive that revenue into for the long-term hold, assuming you don't think America's going to zero, which if it does, again, we have bigger problems than any of this. ATR 17.88. We've been up a little bit on that last bar, 27 range. Ugh. It's tough when the big outsized bar is 27 points. It's not a lot. You know, honestly, guys, in the last month, I was just talking to my wife about this. In the last month, this has been crazy, because in the last month we saw an absolutely dead market. Difficult to trade, still hitting base hits. Big, outsized 400 ATR tariff craziness market, still hitting base hits. And now we're back to dead. We got a bit of a base hit here today. Like we got 1326 on one little trade. But if you guys have been performing okay, even break even, I'm going to be honest with you, even if you've been break even these last 4 weeks, I got to tell you, there's something to that. You got to believe it, because we have seen just about every market dynamic you possibly could. 7% days. I mean, it was crazy in the last month. So that's proof of concept over a lot of market conditions, and we saw it all in the last 4 weeks. So if you've been performing reasonably well, I think you should be very proud of that in the last month, because we've seen it all. Now, if somebody's trading for, 2 weeks and it's been the exact same market for 2 weeks, it's like, that's great, but how's it going to be when the market shifts? Is everything going to shift? Is everything going to change? But if you've been able to, stay break even or be base hit profitable, or hell, big winners even, consistently week by week over the last month, be proud of that. That's a big deal. It's a lot of different market conditions to see in 1 month. Scott, thoughts on Trade Sinker? I don't have any experience. I'm not sure. Couldn't tell you. What is a base hit? A base hit for me is just like a small to moderate green day. Not breaking any records or anything, not having crazy big green days, just generating some revenue, day in, day out, generating some revenue. You take a red day here or there, fine. Come back the next day, try to hit another base hit. Just keep it consistent. That's base hit for me. Now listen, having the big record-breaking green days is great, but you shoot for that every day, I don't think you're going to even be consistent at all. The point is to generate revenue, scale it horizontally, and then increase the consistent revenue. You want your base hit days to get ideally as big as you can over the years, over the decades. Obviously, you know, we're kind of always trying to scale, maybe until some point in retirement. You don't need the big record-breaking days. You just need the consistent revenue. That doesn't mean every day either. You're going to have red days. That's okay. It's part of the game. Eric, I am very consistent until I blow accounts. Still waiting to reach my first payout. Going very slow. You'll get there. Keep it small per account. Scale horizontally. Show up. Trade well. And I think you'll be at a payout before you know it. William, have you had any problems with payouts on Take Profit Trader? Me, I have not had any issues at all. It's been very consistent. It's been very reliable. It's been fast. There was a week there where they were definitely backed up because the market, like tariff week, the market was so crazy. I expect they were getting a ton of support requests. So maybe it was like a day behind at most that week. But now, again, this week, and even most of last week, it's been like same day. Just waiting for the market to give us something here. Crypto student, I've been able to be my most profitable, but it has aged me centuries. I'd rather the smooth but a little less volatile base hit type markets instead of the home runs, even though I made more. Yeah, crypto, listen, you can shoot for base hits no matter the market. Just size down and volatility gets crazy. A, barbecue ribs, E. Nico, my brother, explain what a rollover candle is. You always mention it. A rollover, I'm not referring to a specific candle, I'm referring to the close of one bar and the open of another bar. The bar rolls over. Right, so that timer in the bottom right of this screen that says 46 seconds right now, the bar will roll over when that timer hits approximately 0. Sometimes it's a little off. You have a Tradeify code. No, I don't, but it'll be coming. Tradeify is a cool platform. Or firm, I should say. All right, looks like the bears are waking up a little bit. Let's see if we can get a push downside into a little test. It's about time we're seeing a little movement that's not sideways here. Now, this starts to get really interesting. Look at this 2-minute chart. This is where it's been a while since we've seen a test of this trend line is meeting potential continuation setup. Okay, so I gotta tell you, I gotta watch. I think I'm gonna have to watch this test. I mean, it's been an hour since we've seen a test of that. Blindly buying that as we form a continuation setup downside is probably not my best trade, which means I need to watch that test. Honestly, to be straight up with you guys, I kind of hope we just break downside through, get a rollover, push downside, and give me a nice stop hunting continuation setup short. That's what I would prefer right now. So we'll see if we can eventually get that. Debo, it only takes $350 a day to earn $100K a year. Well, yeah, approximately. I think it's 400, right? Yeah. About 400 bucks a day. 250 trading days a year. There's so much money to be made in micros. And it takes less per day than you think to start making good money. But everyone wants to trade minis because they see everyone posting big giant per account days. It's not about the per account days, it's about what you're making collectively. Someone makes $3,000 per account on a 50K Apex account with a $2,500 trailing drawdown. It's like, okay, well, how many days in a month can you actually do that consistently? Makes for great content. Not going to deny that, but that's just ridiculous. That's leading people down a dark path. Oh, Debo, you're Canadian. That makes sense. Yeah, you're right then. You're right. Doesn't take a lot. Just show up, hit your base hits. Now, of course, you got to work in red days. But in doing so, you're pretty much spot on. Skeptic, does Affordable Indicators Trade Copier work with TradingView? I don't know. I'm not sure. I know it's a NinjaTrader plugin. I don't know if they have a TradingView option. Okay, so as far as news, we're pretty much dead right now, okay? So again, we have a White House speaker, it's not Trump, at 12 Central Time. So we're pretty much free and clear to do as we please here. Now we just need the market to make some kind of decision. Well, since I know none of you guys are pretty much doing anything right now, because this market is dead. We're not done, but right now this is crazy. Please press like on the stream. Helps out more than you realize. For real, it is noticeable. Appreciate you guys doing so. This is what our trend line's looking like right now. But again, I want to watch a test because in case we see a curl over, I would prefer to take continuation if we get that. Just because that will tempt higher volatility, which is good for me in an environment like this where ATR is about 18. You look up top, the bottom. Again, if you're new here, that blue line is hiding behind the yellow flag currently, but that's the average range of the last 10 2-minute bars. And the yellow vertical bars, that's the range of each individual bar. All right, there's the test. A minute and 5 out from the rollover of this 2-minute bar. Honestly, I'd love to see it close beneath that trend line, rollover, push downside, growing bear bar, closing near the low, and boom, I would sell that close. Obviously, if and only if we saw it close beneath that 5-minute 20 EMA. Bulls wicking it back up, trying to hold that trend line there. Again, if you're just joining us, this is where we currently sit. Just one trade so far here today, base hit trade. So we're up 1326. Again, base hit. Just one 0.6 hour trade. That was a channel trade, by the way. We took a little long inside of a channel. Ended up with that. So that's between, of course, 2 Take Profit Pros, 8 Apex funded accounts. Obviously, use code BIG. Best deal always at both of those. Daniel. Just started watching you. First time catching you live. What's your daily P&L or overall target for the day? Well, just showed you. That's a base hit. And then you can watch the recap videos, which tell you. No, I don't log off after one good trade. I sit until the morning session is over, and then sometimes I'll trade afternoon, but it's not always. And what you see at the end of the stream is usually pretty close to what you get. I'll take maybe a few scalps in the afternoon on the off day. But we'll see. See if we get anything else here today. But 1R for me currently here between these accounts is a little over 2,000. So that gives you an idea of what I'm currently looking at between these 10 prop accounts. Okay, so now we're getting an attempted to push downside testing that 20 EMA on the 5. 32 seconds out from this rollover here. Here comes the rollover of this bar. Then that next bar, this one here is what I'm interested in. If we can get a nice low close growing compared to the previous 2 bars, or very similar in size. Closing at or very near the low of the bar and below the 20 EMA on the 5-minute. Then boom, I sell the rollover of this bar. But that all has to happen first. How long are you on stream for? I am live every morning, 8:15 a.m. Central, and I stream until 11 a.m. Central at a minimum. Those about 2 hours, 40 minutes, a little more on average. Okay, here we are testing the 20 EMA on the 5 minute. We have 1 minute and 6 seconds until the rollover of this 2 minute bar. ATR is still at about 18. So this is the moment of truth, that 20 EMA on the 5 minute. "40 seconds. Now we're getting wicked back up. Holding that 20 on the 5. Bulls are holding it. I needed to see it close below 18,310. We didn't get it, did we? Didn't get it. Very close, but didn't get it on that bar. All right, next bar is the bar to watch. Same plan here, by the way. Minute 40 out from the rollover of this 2 minute bar. Minute 10. It's looking better. I want to see this grow a little bit more. If we could see a nice close below 18.3, that would be just about the right size. Looking clean, 53 seconds out. I can't see a big wick back up though. Has to be a reasonable close near or at the low of the bar. But it also cannot be some massive outsized bar. It's all a balance, right? All right, Bears, slow it down. Now, don't wick me back up too much. Give us an entry here. Been teasing us all day. All right, 20 seconds. "12 seconds. Need to see a bit of a push lower. We're wicking up a little bit. Give me a little bit of a fall. Oh man, Bulls. Bulls wicked it back up toward 18.3. Gotta hold off. Gotta hold off. That might seem picky to you, but that would have been a rule break to me. See it especially up top. See this wick? Bulls came in last second, wicked it back up toward 18.3. What does that tell us about the balance at that very moment? Pushing more in favor of the Bulls. They're wicking it back upside, right? Not enough edge for me. I know it sucks when you want to put something on, but you can't, but that would be a rule break. So now, same idea, this bar. All right, a minute 12 out. "40 seconds out. Bulls trying to wick this 2 minute bar back upside. They want to put in that reversion, that little reversal sequence, at least. Oh. Bears just not showing any backbone here, at least bar by bar. They're getting it lower though. Not even 100 points though yet. Well, there's the attempt at putting in that little doji out of the bulls. That's going to be an attempt at a reversal sequence. I'd like to see the bears just shut that down and give me 2 consecutive bear bars after that little reset doji bar. 2 is plenty for me in this scenario, so this one and then the next one. But we'll see if the bulls can finish what they started here. So while these 2 bars work out, I'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, so a little bit of sideways action here. Yeah, you know, see, this is why I think it's really important in hindsight to look back and say, at multiple time frames, the ones that you're actually watching while you're trading. Because if I were to just look at the 2-minute chart, this here, oh, beautiful setup, right? Would have netted maybe 20 points. But that was right at the 20 EMA on the 5-minute, which is why I couldn't take that. Debo, can't seem to get a clear answer on this. On Take Profit Trader, a 50K account, when would you take a withdrawal and how much? The buffer is 2K, so would you wait until 3K and take 1K? You can, as early as you want, on day one, in a funded Take Profit Trader account, which is called a pro account, you can take payouts as soon as you're above the buffer, and you can take, there's no limit. You can take it day one if you get there, though that would be very aggressive. You can take anything above the buffer. So what you said, that's an option. You could do that. Or you could wait until, 5K and then take 3K, or you could wait until you're at 2,200 bucks and take 200 bucks. Doesn't matter. You just do it whatever way you want. All right, watching to see now if we get a third consecutive bull bar. This would be a reversal continuation setup if we can get it. See, we're holding up here on the 20 EMA on the 2-minute. We get a nice push. This is a range day for you. Can't really get much of a backbone out of either side on these continuation setups. All right, this bar is going to roll over here in about 15 seconds. We are not getting much done as far as the bulls. Retesting the 20 EMA on the 5. Chad. Yes, could this also be a retest of a trend line for a move lower? Yeah, we could see that get put in. And then we would be entering a descending channel, which would not be unexpected on a day like today. But just gotta let the market do what it's gonna do and then trade what it gives you. Whether that's continuation or a nice little channel. I don't care, as long as we can get something clean. I'm really watching here is, do we end up getting an upside breakout, or does this turn into a descending channel? Again, I don't care which. I just want something clean. Jacob, a descending channel. That's what I said. That's what I meant to tell you. Well, listen, if you're just joining us, not quite done here yet, but this is where we currently sit. One trade so far today, 0.6R on the trade. Just a base hit. It's been slow. At least for the way that I trade, it's been kind of slow. You would think that there'd be a lot of channel scalps today. There really hasn't been. No clean continuation setups for me here so far. And that one trade was a little channel scalp that we ended up having to manage early because things changed in the trade, presented a little descending resistance. So that's where we currently sit. But again, I'm not quite done here yet. I want to keep looking for what we get. Which, by the way, if you need some accounts, Apex right now, this doesn't last forever, is 80% off. Use code BIG, it's B-I-G, and you can pass the test in 1 day, which means you can be in a funded account literally tomorrow. And that code will give you both of those things, 80% off and single day pass. I'm currently using 8 of those accounts. So you can get up to 20. Which is the plan. All right, let's see if the bears can just take this lower and form a nice little channel. In which case, you know, I'll tell you what, it's time to clean this up. Can't stand looking at all these lines. And I will go ahead and draw this little potential line that may form itself. Just get a news headline? That's gonna mess up my line. Obviously, that only had 2 touch points. I'm looking for at least 3 touch points. It's not the top of the hour quite yet. We must have just got a news headline, right? I'm not seeing anything. Nothing coming through the wire. Goodness, look at that move. Well, I'd believe you guys saying it's the 12 p.m. algo if it were actually 12 p.m. We're not quite there yet, though. Here we go. U.S. Treasury Secretary sees de-escalation with China and situation unsustainable. There's the headline coming through. About time. Look at that push. These are some outsized candles here. That last bar had a range of 86. That's, I mean, listen, that's good for us as far as getting that ATR widened out. Goodness, look at this move. Well, these outsized bars, listen, that's good for the rest of the day's ATR. But now I gotta let this work itself out because I can't sit and trade these massive outsized bars. So it might be a few minutes before this can work itself out. This is where we currently sit. Again, base hit so far here today, that's just one trade, 0.6 R. By the way, if you guys are looking for daily payouts rather than just scaling, Apex is great for scaling, but for daily payouts, you're gonna want Take Profit Trader, at least that's my favorite. You can take payouts every day, which really is a beautiful asset to have. You can get up to 5 accounts with them, 30% off, and hey, here's the headline, no activation fee. Makes it a hell of a lot cheaper. You can get in an account for like $105, which is less than Apex costs. So use code BIG, that'll give you that. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna call it here today. This is crazy, but I'm gonna still sit and watch. Maybe I'll come back in the afternoon and see what I can pick up. But these candles, these have to work themselves out. All right, guys, I will see you back here tomorrow, 8:15 a.m. Central Time. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And I'll see you in the morning. All right, guys, have a good rest of the day.